price goes so very far into the sky that when Bitcoin reaches the moon, it becomes the moon, and it becomes the thing that is the target that other people wish to reach, right? So we have that opportunity now. We have that opportunity to get in before Wall Street. Wall Street has the opportunity to get in before the ETFs and the general dumb money. I don't like to call people dumb money. I would just call it late money or slow money. This stuff's so complicated that, few people understand all of it, but that's fine. Few people understand fuel injection. Cars run fine. Few people understand, electron microscopy. CPU processors work fine, right? So, yeah, I'm excited to see the price go where it needs to go. I see this as a great opportunity. I'm very, very happy. I'm very pleased.
What is going on, beautiful people? It is your boy back once again with another critically acclaimed vlog, blog, schmog, hog. It doesn't matter, all right? Pulsechain and 4, right? But now I'm back, man. I'm back with another insight, another video of insight to just some of the things that just feel the need to speak about. I'm trying to be a force multiplier. I'm trying to maybe help relay some of my experiences and some of the things I've learned to maybe, even if it just helps one person. That's all you need sometimes. Because you never know who's the person, right? You never know who's the next person to pick up the baton and run with it. Where you can spark, that idea, right? So, just here. That's all. But it's been an interesting few years. You feel me? The first time I learned about Pulsechain, the first time I learned about Richard Hart was being told that he's a scammer. X was at 1 cent. I think it just hit a penny. Maybe it's close to a penny. It's late 2020, 2021, I'm guessing. And in my crypto group, and mind you, I'm brand new to crypto at this time. I think I installed a MetaMask and I installed MetaMask. Let me put it like this. I had never used Uniswap. I used Uniswap like 2 weeks later than necessary to get the Uni airdrop. So that kind of puts a fucking date on when I got into crypto. So when I first heard about Richard, I didn't. Shit, everybody was saying that it seemed like a scam and that he was pumping up the price and liquidity. He would pull the liquidity, manipulate the liquidity to pump the price and all this stuff, right? So never paid it no attention. But there was one person in the group who always used to say, fast forward, excuse me. One person, when Pulsechain started becoming a thing, right? He used to always say hey, Pulsechain coming out soon. Don't miss the layup, right? And so I always kept that in the back of my mind. And then, bam, the Pulsechain announcement happens in July 2021. Richard's live streaming. That's the first time I ever heard Richard Hart live stream. And from that day, I realized, as a person who has been around the world multiple times, one thing the military makes you good at is identifying weak, limp dick men, as they like to say, right? There's people who's elevated to positions that shouldn't be there. And then there's people who you would run into battle with, as they say, right? You can identify these people. And you identify these people through their body language, through their mannerisms, through their words, and through their actions, right? And watching that first stream, I'm just like, wow, this guy, he's something different than all the other crypto influencers I had seen up until that point. Mind you, people, I have only been in crypto. At this point, it couldn't have been no more than 8 months. And I'm already saying, this guy is fucking real. And all these other people are fucking, they're garbage. Just like that, right? Now, ultimately, I've come to realize that most people in this world are just very, very stupid. And not stupid in the sense of they can't add 1 plus 1, but they're very stupid in the way that they interact with people, the way they can read people, they can read body languages, they can read a person's, they're very crazy because that they just don't have that training. These are things that you know, I have a sneaky suspicion that all the black people that's like active in Pulsechain really fuck with Richard because most of us, the way you kind of grow up, it's easy to tell that he's not selling no BS, right? I have no real way to quantify that minus like just life experiences, right? Um, because it seems to be that majority of the people who are black in this space rock with Richard more heavy than some of the other people. Um, but that's just a casual one-off observation. Like I said, maybe one day we'll unpack that further. Um, but it is what it is. Anywho, start watching Richard, and I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself when I'm hearing him explain this, how does this not become the biggest thing in crypto, right? Ethereum gas fees at the time were terrible. I mean, I just remember seeing like there's nothing worse than you pay $150 to buy something on Matcha or Uniswap and that bitch fails. Oh man, that should have you sick. Cause now you gotta, cause you know how you do the math carefully. You're like, okay, I'm gonna buy $1,000 worth of this token, right? And I know I need at least 200 for gas fees. And so you move 1,200 over. You get chopped up with the Coinbase fees. So you add another $50 on top for the Coinbase cut or the Crypto.com cut, and then your transaction failed. Oh my goodness, right? And I'm just as a casual newbie into crypto, I'm like, how don't this work, right? So about time I only had like a few $1,000s left to my crypto name at the time, right? Bam, sacrifice Pulsechain. But I started doing deep dive research. Now I've been involved with money markets for a long time. Uh, so a lot of the crypto stuff, it didn't take long to translate. But this stuff is so complicated, man. You have to put together real effort to want to learn it. So I'm learning. I'm trying to tell my friends like, hey man, y'all, this could be the layup we looking for. This could be the thing that sets us up for the future, right? So lo and behold, Pulse X happens. So all the people who have been listening to me, they're now getting the Pulse X, right? Then all the shenanigans start to happen, right? The 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. You know, um, the stuff is really hard, right? All the perceived excuses, right? Then on top of that, a brutal bear market. I mean, brutal. I bought the top of Hex and all the way down. Now, obviously, in a perfect world, you could just buy the bottom and sell the top. But hey, man, it is what it is. It be what it be, right? You can't complain about spilled milk. Nobody forced you to click buy. Nobody forced you to hit stake. Nobody forced you to do anything. It's you and the contract. So I didn't start bitching and moaning and crying and whining and fucking complaining and shit about this like all these like a lot of other people did. Instead, I got some more money, DCA on the way down, and I started learning. But I made sure I learned more because all in all, knowledge really is power, right? We're here to this as 1% of the population, maybe less than 1% of the population. There are literal billions of people who don't know about this. We're in on the ground floor of a new layer one with arguably one of the smartest founders in cryptocurrency. One of the smartest people. You can't deny that. Like people try to make it seem like Richard is just some guy who woke up one day and said he's gonna make a chain. Uh, no, not at all. I've took the time to go watch almost every live stream that is available on his channel. There's a reason he used to say, "Bring your heroes here to die." The main reason because he's just way smarter than everybody because he's been in this shit a lot longer than most people have been. He's for as a popular phrase I used to always hear is, "I've forgotten more than you'll ever know." And I realized that this is the guy to probably back, this is the horse, the proverbial horse to back in this race. You know, this now becomes the thing. that I must get my people to understand, right? Because if it fails, and we lose nothing, right? You lose some money, right? But think about how much money you've wasted in the last year, last 2 years, last 5 years on stuff that if you had the chance to get that money back, you would. Whether it's, food, vacations, gambling, drugs, it doesn't matter. You can look back and say, I've wasted money on this. I have a closet full of sneakers I used to buy when I was enlisted in the military that I have never worn. They're re-releasing sneakers I got over 10 years ago that have been sitting in the box for 10 years. You don't think I want that 200 euros back? That back when the euro was strong as fuck too. Don't even get me started on that shit. Of course I would want that money back. So why not take the risk? That's what I used to always tell them. What do you have to lose? The upside is literally Valhalla, right? Either we get filthy fucking rich or we back where we at today. There is no loss to this, right? Pulsechain became the thing. Pulse became the thing. Hex was the thing. If we just get back to all-time high, you have a quantifiable number that you can measure. If you said I want to make $1 million in this crypto shit, if you'd have bought Hex and said, if you'd have divided, if you didn't find out how much money you needed to get back to, or if you found out how many X's it was back to all-time high, how much money you needed to invest, and say, okay, if we just get back to all-time high, I have $1 million. You could figure that out. It wasn't hard to do, not at all. So Pulsechain, Pulsex sacrifice happens, raises all this money. Ooh, lordy, lordy, a lot of money. Pulse keeps on having its hitting its snags. Software is hard. People are getting anxious. Right? A lot of people thought that the shit would be out. And in fairness, Richard was bragging. I've rewatched those streams too, Richard. Listen, this may sound like a pro. Richard can't do no wrong shit. There's a lot of things Richard missed the mark on. Now, do I think he did it purposely? No. He probably thought that they were moving at breakneck speed, and then they realized, hey, it's not that simple, right? We got to do this. I remember there was a thing not too long ago. It was probably like last year at this point. With something with Revoke Cash or some shit like that. One of these sites to revoke tokens, and it was this deal where somebody said that they got scammed or some shit like that, and Bretep come on there and said, yeah, you ain't got to worry about that for Pulsechain because we identified that would be a problem and we don't use certificates from some other. It was something like that, but he was pretty much getting on their flex and saying like, no, while y'all was clowning us for how long it took to essentially do a copy paste, you don't got to worry about this problem because we built a whole separate thing to because we identified this, right? And I think about that a lot because people, one of the narratives that have always kind of like gotten under my nerves is that there's a bunch of like backseat drivers, a bunch of armchair quarterbacks. These people who have never accomplished anything in their life. They never have faced any pressure. Like, it's the people that say, oh, if Richard would have just used the SOC funds to buy ETH on this day, he would be up $2 billion. Yo, tell me, first of all, be in control of $600 million and buy anything in one transaction. Most people couldn't even do that, right? Most people wouldn't even do it after they sent 10 test transactions, let alone buying something, right? $600 million. So you have people who are literally over here saying what they would have did if they had $600 million, knowing they would have never did it. You have people over here saying, why can't Richard stream, as if the fucking SEC does not have a case against you. There's a reason why the first thing the cops have to say to you is anything you say can and will be used against you. And we've seen firsthand, thanks to the AI transaction, how they have purposely distorted the words and the timelines to try to make this man seem guilty of things they're accusing him of. But yet people will get on there with their face showing, with their real name, and say say it with their chest what they would have done. Right? It's so hypocritical. It's so sad. It's so sickening. But these are the people, right? These are the opportunists. These are the people. Do you really want these people watching your back? Nah, not me. Not me. They turned on this guy instead of going to get a fucking job in DCANN, right? They act like if Pulsechain didn't pop off in 2 years, that it automatically goes to zero. There's some kind of like, dead man switch on it. Like if it didn't 10,000x in 2 years, right? So, you have this opportunity, you have this whole scenario, and you know, we're here, we dragging along, and then finally, Pulsechain come out. I actually remember where I was when it came out. I was at a hotel. I was in Abilene, Texas, at work. And I remember looking at my phone and seeing the tweet from Richard. And I looked over to my friend, my very good friend, who's in Pulsechain. He's in Pulsex. We got into crypto at the same time. We was working together. And I said, hey man, Pulsechain just released. It's live. And I was going to meet another friend that was in Pulsechain too. And he was like, bullshit, you lying. I said, nope, it happened. So we having a good time. We celebrating and shit like that. Well, around this time, Pulsechain conference in Austin, Texas, right? They talking about the movie being released, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, May, June, July. So it had to be around July. It was after I know it was after the SEC lawsuit that the movie released, and we had the Pulsechain conference in Austin. And so you have all this positive energy because it's finally out, and people are done bitching and moaning. But Richard's not streaming, right? Everybody expected. I remember this very vividly. Everybody expected. I remember Ivan on tech saying that when Pulsechain come out, he was gonna make sure Richard was on his channel, and then it doesn't happen. But everybody's happy because Pulsechain out. But little did we know in the background, this man is building a proverbial legal dream team. A Jordan, a Bird, a Magic Johnson. He's building his dream team because, you know, the big bad wolf is after him. July 31st, SEC tweets, and it's still up today. I actually just looked at it. I finally did some prep for this video. Finally did some prep. I go look. The SEC still has that tweet up, right? I bet you they thought that was a hell of a feather in their cap, right? Richard Schuler, aka Richard Hart. News, you go look at that chart. Oh man, that red candle was enough to make you sick to your fucking stomach. I will never forget how many people who I thought believed in they believed is arguably probably the smartest person they know, which I am to a lot of people. How many people was quick to throw it in my face that now their investment was quote unquote going to zero, right? And that shit sucks because who wants to convince people that this is a good place to invest their capital, invest their money because they believe in you, and then some shit like that you could have never foreseen happen, right? I'm not gonna lie, that was a tough day. That was a tough day. I'm telling you, man. You listen to this, go on Deck Screener, go type in WPLS, put it on the daily chart, and go look at that July 31st candle, man. That shit is sickening. But after the initial shell shock of getting punched right in your fucking face, what did I do? Well, fortunately, I had been doing enough research in between time, and I learned that, hey, man, dips are nothing but buying opportunities. So I doubled back. I called all those motherfuckers out to their face and said, listen, you can bitch and moan about the price is down, but I can guarantee you it won't stay down. You know why it won't stay down? Why? Because you can't kill it. There is no off switch to this. Yes, he's being sued. And yes, he is the biggest figure in it. But, at the same time, there is no off switch to this. And plus, I was also smart enough to know the SEC is not a law enforcement agency, and they cannot issue that. I remember that. I remember all the biggest I remember the spaces afterwards with all these fucking people coming out to. I told you guys. I remember Eric Wall gets on there. I just saw that Richard, he could get they were saying life in prison and all this shit. I remember the cart, just all these people were saying, oh yeah, this guy's. I remember a literal scammer, the one guy that went to prison for raising the price on diabetes medicine or something was calling him a scammer. I was like, bro, you're a literal scammer. I remember Mr. Jack Levin, Mr. Zen himself getting on there. Well, if it's not an ICO, then why would you need tokens? Just a bunch of fucking suckers, man. These are the people. They're so jealous of this guy that they are willing to they would have sold him out. If hypothetically speaking, say this was like a law, like the police had came to the door and Richard was hiding out in the attic, right? They would sell him out because they're so jealous of him. They're so jealous of, and who knows why they're jealous of him, but they are jealous of him, right? I think about that a lot. That they was all on the spaces coming up with all these hypothetical fucking glass half empty scenarios and shit, all for Richard to come out and say, "Hey, no guys, sorry, I got the best lawyers, and I'm fighting for your right. I am fighting for your right to I'm fighting for good precedents, good laws, good. This is what I'm doing. I have these lawyers, and as Mr. Big said, get you 12 white boys and take that shit to trial, you know. And I just remember like yeah, hell yeah, a little bit of vindication, right? Because now I had something to throw back in the motherfuckers' faces who doubted me, right? And I just throw it in their face a little bit and be like, listen, but you need to be behind because these bars still low as fuck, right? So you have that happen. But somewhere around that time, this is when it really started to dawn on me that I need to be going harder into buying Pulsechain and Pulsex and Hex for that matter. Because up until that point, the price had been down for so long, I was still kind of pussyfooting around it, right? Buying a little bit here and there. I'm spending money on all types of shit. Money I wish I could have had back, right? But it was around that time that I realized why this now becomes arguably, in many ways, this could become the most important um, layer one in all of crypto, right? The whole I'm in it for the glory. It all really started to click around this time because everybody else, like, first of all, let's think about this, right? There are a lot of quote unquote big fish in the crypto industry, right? But we don't really hear like a lot about those kind of, the SEC kind of targeting them like that, right? You have the Brian Armstrong with the Coinbase, and you have the Winklevoss twin. I think they got something for their Gemini stuff, if I'm not mistaken. But Richard Hart's a guy. Um, he doesn't even live in the U.S. He has years on tape on live stream talking about how to subvert the Howey test. Now, as a smart person once said to me, tax evasion is illegal. Tax avoidance is perfectly legal, right? So just because you know how to avoid taxes doesn't make that illegal. What makes it illegal is when you do something and then you purposely try to circumvent the laws that were made for that thing. Subverting the Howey test is not illegal. Understanding the law is not illegal. That's how you operate inside the laws. If anything, that's how you call out the laws for being so flagrantly bad. And I realized that I'm starting to put all this together that, yeah, he got these lawyers, he got all this evidence on his side. He has clearly the capital. There's a good chance that he really could slay this Leviathan, as Crypto Heartbeat used to say. He could go toe to toe with these people, not because he's seeking a fight, but because he's trained for a fight. And there's a difference. Somebody going out and seeking a fight get their ass whooped by somebody that's better than them. Somebody who's been training and ready to execute when it's time, they got enough practice reps. That's a dangerous person. Enough of my Richard Hart live stream watching has proven to me that this guy knew that he couldn't be fucked with legally when it come to the things he was doing, because one, he's just prepared. He was really prepared. We're seeing that now. It's hard to imagine that back then. But these are the things that I'm seeing. And this is when I really started to go all in, because what happens when he eventually does conquer the SEC? And I'm not saying this to my people who still listen to me and who decided to continue to follow in the path just because I'm like, I'm like these other people. Show me where I've been defrauded and all that stuff. No, it's about because I have an understand of how when you're legally protected when you have the legal on your side, you are a hard person to beat just by case law. Surprisingly, around this time, I was actually doing a lot of reading into laws and stuff like that. I was reading a lot of these acts, like the SEC Act of 33 and the Trading with the Enemy Act and the Federal Reserve Act. I'm reading the way they construct these things in the legalese and how they go about operating. And it told me that we stand a great fucking chance, right? Then we move a little further into the process, and we start to see that what the SEC has and shit like that. And it's like, man, your case seems really weak. There's, in your document, you got dates wrong, you got prices, you got all this stuff wrong. It looked like somebody off Twitter wrote it, to be honest with you. And you start to gain more confidence, but the confidence of knowing that you're on the right side of a lot of things. I think that as this space continues to grow, there's only a literal couple people who are fighting for, the freedom of man from the rule of money. You know, I think Richard is definitely on that side. As much as he likes to get on there and talk about, the price of this and 10,000x and stuff like that, the underlying platform being that you have to have some kind of arena to be able to navigate this, this what you want to accomplish, right? You have to allow an infrastructure to be built that allows you as the casual person, or allow casual people to be able to exchange these ideas to build this technology and things of that nature. So you have a guy that's so far ahead of his peers. He's so far ahead of his peers, and we're so far ahead of the casual peers that if somebody came up to you today and said, "Hey man, XRP is going to $100,000 coin," you look at them like they're fucking crazy. And you wouldn't look at them like they're crazy because you wouldn't say something like, "Well, if that was the case, then the market cap of XRP would be more than everything." You wouldn't even say that. You know why you wouldn't even say that? Because the first thing you jump to is that, like, "Hey man, fucking Brad Garlinghouse fucking be dumping on his user's head all the time. And he owns a lot of coins." And they'd be like, the first thing they're gonna say is, "Who's Brad Garlinghouse?" That's how far ahead we are. That's why this becomes the thing that's going to just destroy. It's going to fucking come through like a it's going to come through like how nature does. And when nature decides it wants to start cutting up and acting a fool, there's nothing that can stop it. You just got to weather the storm, as they say. I talk about price predictions with a couple of my friends all the time, and they always saying like, "What do you really think?" Right? And I can't. I can comprehend a 10,000x. I don't know if I could. Uh, how I'd actually feel if I did see a 10,000x. You feel me? Like if I'm looking at all this, right? I'm putting it all in perspective. I think we see easily a 10,000x in Pulsechain from the bottom, right? So I should have did this math. I'm not as prepped as I should be, but the bottom of PulseX, easily a 10,000x. And you know why I think we see a 10,000x? And it has nothing to do with the SAC fund or nothing. It's just because the conditions in which we're about to be thriving in. It makes no sense that we can't do this with trillions of dollars trying to flow into this market with arguably one of the smartest. I think you could probably say that Richard is probably one of the 10 smartest people in crypto, which is a hell of a feat to accomplish. Even if you said he's one of the 100 smartest people in crypto, what have the other smart guys created? They've created very little. So take away the SAC fund, take away that. Just why not this market? Why not the guy who has been saying that he wants to be in it for the glory, who wants to be known as the greatest to ever do it? It's something special about Muhammad Ali, right? As a boxer, do people think Muhammad Ali was the best heavyweight of all time? There's a lot of people that don't. Do people think he was the best boxer of all time? Probably not. But the reason he's called the greatest is not because of his boxing. His impact, his legacy, all these things, like him, what he meant. Like, go watch When We Were Kings by Spike Lee. And you would just see how Ali had captured the heart of the people. And That's why they call him the greatest. They don't call him the greatest because he was the most fierce knockout artist or the most this, that, and the third. He was called the greatest because of this reason. Tom Brady is universally regarded as the GOAT, regardless of what you like or not. He's not the most gifted quarterback to ever play. Most people say Peyton Manning by a long stretch. Most people say Dan Marino, John Elway by a long stretch were more physically gifted, more athletic, more what's called. But there's something about Tommy Terrific, the will to win, the desire to win, the desire to compete that supersedes everything. And it universally because of all that, he's the GOAT, you know? LeBron and Jordan. I'm not gonna get too far into that one because I can spend all day talking about sports analogies, right? But you have a guy who welcomed it. He welcomed this fight. You know why he welcomed this fight? Because he had been prepared. And he knew, much like when all of these greats had went into battle, that he was going to come out on top victorious. Now, like I always say, it's hard to see that July 31st, 2023. That shit is hard as fuck to see. But in the grand scheme of things, how can we not think this? You know, this is where I call out a lot of these quote unquote hex OGs and stuff like that. If they've been fucking with Richard as long as they say they was fucking with him, they should be the one delivering this message. It shouldn't take me. It shouldn't take me to come deliver this message. You know, it shouldn't take me to come and have to try to convince people outside of my own boards why we're going to win and why we're going to win so hard. Why we're going to be in Monaco with life-changing and wife-changing money. Shout out to Crypto 7 yet again, because I say that shit all the time. And people don't understand what I mean by it. Not yet, at least. You know, it shouldn't have taken Post Nation to tell people, hey, guys, building a position when the prices are down is historically one of the best investment strategies you can do. It shouldn't have taken us Johnny come latelys, as they like to say, to convince people of this. But there is a new proverbial, changing of the guard. There's a changing of the guard, and a lot of these people they've destroyed their equity that they had. Their equity is fucking trash now. Nobody cares about them no more. They should fade away to black because nobody cares. Nobody cares to listen to them. You know, when Pulsechain goes up a 10,000x, and the markets are fucking favorable for this to happen. We have the most pro crypto government that's ever existed in crypto history. They still printing the dollar. Last time I checked, it's still going up very rapidly. Now they're letting all the old money come in, and by old money I mean the money of the people who, when their names accidentally leak for something public, they're some heirs to the DuPonts or some shit like that. You have all this money coming into crypto. 10,000x kind of seems like the floor, honestly. You know, fucking $10 hex seems like a fucking foregone conclusion. And all this is before, and maybe even never, none of the SAC funds come into Pulsechain. Oh man, what a time to be alive. But I'm looking at the counter, we're close to 33 minutes, and I know most people don't have the attention span to listen to more than 33 seconds. So I think it's a good wrapping up position. But I just want to, just make sure that y'all are staying on. Make sure make sure you're staying focused on what the goal is. While the gains, I will never say the gains are not important, because obviously we all want a Lambo. But the gains are going to come. But what we're in right now is the start of something. Because I still don't see it. I don't see where's the chain that is new, that is innovative, that is fast, that is not centrally owned. Like they can't cut it off. It's not a layer 2 of some fucking, like, people are talking about Base. I'm like, bro, that's just a layer 2 of Coinbase. What are you talking about? Like, this is decentralized enough. And while the Sacrifice Wallet or Richard or whomever y'all want to say may own a large majority of said tokens, well, as Richard always said, the best time to buy was when Satoshi owned all the fucking tokens. That seems to have been true. I can't argue with that logic. So, just keep that in perspective. We're still under sack price. As I'm looking at this right now, you can't tell me that you can't tell me that the future does not look bright. Everything that bad that could have happened has happened. Lawsuit, the Bank X shit. You know, I mean, ETH is the presidency change. That if the presidency had went the other way, I might not have all this fucking bass in my voice talking about this shit. To be honest with you, come on, man. Pulsechain, Richard posted that clip on his Twitter when Bitcoin hit 100,000. Said, it goes up so high that it becomes the moon. Yeah, yeah, that's where we're headed. We're headed to the fucking moon. Not just to Earth's moon, though. We're headed to Pluto's moon. They don't even consider that shit a planet no more. That's where we're headed. Other than that, good folks, y'all be easy. Y'all be breezy until the next time. You feel me?